I don't know if you're like me, but I've always wanted to do my own thing. It's not about a ton of money, I just care about having enough to live on from doing what I love because I'm not good at bringing myself to stay at a job. And I mean that because I went to a solid college after high school, a high-end, expensive university, and I lasted one semester before I dropped out to prioritize my own YouTube channel. Yes, even just getting to 6,000 subscribers was enough for me to start packing my bags. As I prepared to leave college and my channel started to get more and more subscribers, I was starting to see how I could potentially make this my career. But this is where I have to give you some context. It may seem like something is successful, but it's important to recall the initial conditions because the initial conditions indicate what foundations the future will be built on. For example, there might be a beautiful house, but the initial conditions are that the house was built in a forgotten neighborhood. Sure, it's a good house, but it's quite limited as to how enjoyable it could be to live in. For me, the channel I made was fun and awesome, but the initial conditions were built on a sketchy basis. If I could sum it up, I'd say the initial conditions were built on somebody who lacked long-term thinking. Yes, I was doing what I loved, but I didn't balance that with seeing the big picture of things. At the time, I was just simply focused on the joy of playing Fortnite and making videos. That's why I made the channel, that's all I cared about, and that's totally awesome. But in terms of committing to a project, mindset is the number one thing in anything you do, and what I lacked was the mindset to think longer term. So upon dropping out of college, I started shifting towards monetizing my YouTube channel so that I could turn it into a career. And that's where I started to make some moves that would bite me in the ass later on. I think the primary issue is how much I cared about views. We are so deluded by our egos, I was so insecure I just sought the external validation. And in my pursuit for clout, I made three particularly debatable decisions. First off, I was totally convinced that I needed to niche down my channel as much as possible. If I could just put in more gaming hashtags and keywords related to Fortnite, then I could narrow down my audience as much as possible. But what then would I do if I didn't want to make Fortnite content in the future? Boy, did I miss the mark with that, because later on, this heavily constrained me from diversifying my content towards other things I enjoyed making. It's better to make a few people really happy than to make a lot of people semi-happy. This leads me to the second thing I did, which is if a video did well, I would try to replicate the formula. There's nothing inherently wrong with this, but I did this to an extent to which I stifled my creative expression, and it became more of a process of replication than evolution, and I was compromising value and authenticity for views. What's dangerous is not to evolve. And the third thing is I lost sight of the basics and direction. Since I was niching down and stifling my expression, I started to add more bells and whistles to make my videos better. But what I needed to do instead was focus more on the basics. More flashiness isn't what I needed. It was to not lose sight of what simply makes a video fun to make and valuable. It is not a daily increase, but a daily decrease. Hack away at the inessentials. Another core mishap in my strategy was that I had certain hidden beliefs about money. Ultimately, if I did want to spend my time focused on the channel, money would be a key resource in investing into the channel. But I never consciously thought about money in a constructive way, and I had some misconceptions about it. And yet, I never picked up any books or resources to learn more about it and lacked self-awareness. Understand ethical wealth creation is possible. If you secretly despise wealth, it will elude you. I essentially got so focused on playing this egotistical game of YouTube that I was employing numerous short-term tactics and gradually losing sight of my true self. I was productizing the game, not myself. Fast forward a couple years and you start to see what these initial conditions would lead to. As I experienced a bit more growth on the channel, I made a fatal mistake. I stopped learning. I thought I learned enough to create good content, but really I was preventing myself from expanding, and I was just digging my own grave. And even though I lacked the creative fuel that learning provides, I was burning through whatever fuel I did have working my ass off for the channel, like 10, 12-hour days on end because I cared. But my process of creation lacked the fuel it needed, so I was recycling ideas. I wasn't learning about things that got me curious, and I was expecting my creativity to just serve me ideas from thin air. Inevitably, my life was consumed by my channel, and feeling completely burnt out and totally stuck, this led to my breaking point. I just couldn't force myself to do it anymore. So the gig was up, and it was time to accept that. And to me, this was basically a mini death at the time, a personal and professional crisis. I even told my family that I'm not interested in making videos anymore. And they didn't believe me at first because I'd been making videos my whole life. Until this point, when I realized it was time for me to stop, I had never really confronted and considered what I wanted my ideal life to look like. If I didn't have my channel, what did I have? I just began questioning everything. In order to find some footing, I began desperately seeking out videos online to give me some direction to go into, or some business to start, because, I still wanted to do my own thing. The learning and introspection that followed from that point on has never really stopped, and I don't ever want it to. I sacrificed so much of my time and put in every ounce of energy I had to work on that channel. Now, I don't regret it because experience is a wonderful teacher, and by reaching the point of fully giving up, I had no choice but to rethink my entire life. And rethinking your entire life is a very important thing to do. If I didn't go through that, I wouldn't have explored philosophy and what makes a life good. I wouldn't have realized just how important it is to keep learning and the absolute necessity to always be your true self. From this, I have learned the importance of looking within and asking myself what I want instead of relying on other people to guide me. And I hope this channel can help you to do the same. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace out.